I've really tried to figure out why I'm so fascinated with John Frankenheimer's 1979 natural horror bash Prophecy, that giant mutated bear movie. I mean, obviously I love it on paper. I love John Frankenheimer, and I love natural horror. However, I'd be lying if I said that Prophecy is exactly what I'd hoped it would be given that delightful expectation. Frankly, the execution of Prophecy was marred by Frankenheimer's apparent cynicism and by his own admission, an unfortunate period of alcoholism. Penned by David Seltzer as his follow-up to The Omen, Prophecy found its director Frankenheimer after the commercial disappointment of 1977's Black Sunday. Presumably jaded, Frankenheimer figured he would direct a silly giant bear movie which anyone could direct. And to be honest, whilst the film might be somewhat assisted by Frankenheimer's presence, it isn't one with much of a directorial stamp either. This is arguably one of the least visually stylish of the natural horror films of its era, perhaps owing to the clunky handling of its giant monster suit. Not knowing how best to frame it as it is such a goofy prop, Frankenheimer is responsible for a series of mostly sloppy visual captures of his film's creature, leading to awkward insert shots which an editor has to try and incorporate coherently, fluidly, within a narrative sequence. The editor, Tom Rolfe, may have tried his best, but Frankenheimer didn't. Cinematographer Harry Stradling Jr. does a fine job during day sequences, although his night lighting is at times either unreal or outright lacking. So what do I love about Prophecy? It contains a brilliant monster movie screenplay. Needlessly so. Seriously, this movie might be better to read than to watch. The holistic way in which Seltzer sought to combine harrowing environmentalism, anthropogenic conflicts over living space, the anxieties of giving birth, natural versus unnatural, and pantheistic payback into one cohesive, commendable screenplay is rather impressive. This is particularly manifest in the finished film if we observe the handling of the character Maggie, portrayed in this production by Talia Shire, Connie Corleone herself. She clearly believed in the screenplay's merits, or at least it appears that she did. Well, I mean, otherwise, her idea of phoning it in might prove her more talented than anyone realized. But in general, this movie is unnecessarily or unwarrantedly well performed to some degree. As corny and overly dramatic as a couple of moments might be, I tend to like, or certainly enjoy, the performances of Robert Foxworth and Armand Assante. Richard Dysart, the owner of The Mill, the man probably most individually responsible for all of this film's conflict and drama and troubles and challenges, he does a tremendous job. Amazingly unnecessarily believable performance. Guy is just trying to do his job, but in doing so, he charismatically lies and deceives a representative from the American Environmental Protection Agency, thinking they won't learn about his use of mercury as a fungicide in their logging plant. Of course, when Dysart's character, Bethel Isley, realizes the extent to which his plant has severely mutated the local environment, which, given the recent disappearances within the forest, had Isley libeling some local Native Americans as murderers. Now, Isley learns the error of his ways, and he agrees to travel alone to a radio tower in order to seek help. It doesn't end up working, but at least we can say that Isley died, sacrificing his life to help others. Dysart is best known for his role in The Thing, John Carpenter's film. He portrays Dr. Copper, who has his arms bitten off by Norris's chest in that film's possibly most famous/infamous scene. So this is Prophecy, directed by frequent FOTD friend John Frankenheimer. A part of me felt as though if I understood the filmography of John Frankenheimer, this vaguely non-autorial, or at least someone who thought of all of that his theorizing was apparently bunk, figure, whom nevertheless helmed several very memorable, interesting films, then maybe I could understand the secrets, the hidden code, to understanding filmmaking and therefore films period. Noel Oakeshott once discussed this in relation to Michael Curtiz, and I think that in the post-Curtiz era, the New Hollywood era essentially, Frankenheimer came to embody that distinguished non-autorial filmmaking as a job sort of professional elegance. Or at least I feel as though there is a marginal case to be made for that. Frankenheimer was only ever a director for hire, but in seeing what he chose to emphasize in the execution of other screenplays, we can get an understanding, a unique insight, into the distinct qualities of this medium in practice, differential from its written plan, and evolved into a new, superior art form. We can look at Frankenheimer films and speculate on how they may have differed had another director helmed its production. This is very instructive in learning about how this medium is constructed. Now, the irony in stating this in a video about Frankenheimer's prophecy is that it is not clear what would be different about this film if Frankenheimer hadn't had directed it. Maybe a degree of technical competence we are taking for granted, but somehow I get the impression that even another director for hire type of experience in these genres, Michael Anderson, Roy Ward Baker, even Robert Klaus maybe, could have directed something more fluid or cohesive, as opposed to one who had had little to none in this field of film production storytelling, Frankenheimer. Anyway, that is about as much as Prophecy probably deserves to be talked about. If I had to share anything else about this particular film, it would be that it has the ironic curse of its monster prop being the least impressive facet of the entire production. Arguably everything else is relatively slick or professional, but the creature itself, I don't know. But hey, that's my spiel. Have a great day everyone, anywhere, everywhere.